Okay, Mrs. Sugars, if you could please call the roll.
Mrs. Stratton. Here. Mrs. Fleischer.
Here.
Mrs. Gallagher. Mr. Greenbaum.
Here.
Mr. Mayor.
Here.
Dr. Rude.
Here.
Mrs. Tong.
Here.
Mrs. Winters. Ms. Stern.
Here. Okay. And we are going to we don't have any board recognition. We don't have any presentations and we don't have any administrative reports. Is that right, Dr. Morton? Okay. And then we will go to correspondence. Do any board members have any correspondence? Ms. Elmore Ms. Fleischer? Ms. Fleischer.
I'll go first. Along with Mrs. Stern and Mrs. Elmore Stratton, we were able to, and I'm forgetting what day it is now. Was that Sunday? Sunday, we went to the Senior World Little League Series. The Cherry Hill Atlantic Senior League 16U won the US Championship. So we went to the rally that was at East when they got back. And the Cherry Hill Police were there and the fire and so many parents. And we were just happy to be there and support them. It was really a wonderful opportunity.
I was just going to share that since our last meeting, myself and Mrs. Stern, we were a part of a presentation with a significant gift from Ms. Lampett's office. It was very well done. We had the opportunity to have some students be present as well. And Mr. Zagrafis was there. So it was really nice. And it is going to go, the funds that were donated will go towards lighting for Cherry Hill East Stadium, which I know my son would have been super happy because that means he could have played his game at East. But that's really exciting. And it's just really exciting to see all these upgrades and all the support we're getting from the community and legislators.
Mrs. Stratton, can I just clarify one thing? It was actually a competitive grant that we applied for. I just don't want you to think it was a donation, but it was actually a competitive grant that we applied for and were awarded from the Department of Community Affairs.
Well, now I appreciate it even more. All right. Well, way to go, admin. Yeah. No, that's awesome to know. That is very awesome to know. Thank you so much, Ms. Sugars, because I definitely don't want to discredit anybody's hard work that went behind it, but thank you.
Other board members have correspondence? I did get a chance to go to National Night Out last week that the township put on. It was a really neat evening. I saw some community members there and I saw lots of kids and folks from PTA and, it was just a great night. The township, the fire and the police and so many other community organizations were there providing activities for the kids and prizes, which there were some excited kids and some very disappointed kids who were crying. It was kind of all over the map. But it was a beautiful night and it was a really nice time to see the community come out together. So I was very happy to do that. So, and I think that's it for correspondence, right? Oh, Dr. Morton, you have something.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Stern. So we received our unofficial list of school board candidates who are running during the November 7th general election for this year. I just want to take an opportunity to publicly state the names of the candidates and give the candidates an opportunity just to stand and be recognized. John M. Brangan, Renee Sherfain, Karen Elmore Stratton, Kimberly Gallagher, Nicholas Gaudio Jr., Jennifer Sharman, and Miriam Stern. Those online, you can raise your hand if you are viewing, but thank you for your candidacy to you all.
Thank you, Dr. Morton. And now we will go to our first public comment. There are two public opportunities for public comment this evening. The first comment section is for board action items only, items 17 through 19. There will be another public comment section for any school-related topic at the end of the meeting. If you are a student in the district, you may comment on any item at all during the first public comment period. If you are a student, please identify yourself as a student. And if you are online, please put an S after your name. If you would like to speak now, please identify the agenda item and clearly state your name and municipality. We will alternate between speakers here in the room and those who are online. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. The timer on the screen will indicate the amount of time you have remaining. Public comment is an opportunity for members of the community to comment on matters relevant to the operations of the Cherry Hill Public School District or within the authority of the Cherry Hill Board of Education. The board welcomes diverse opinions on relevant matters. Under established federal law governing reasonable restrictions on speech in public forums, statements which demean individual community members or groups or which are irrelevant to the operations of the school district or repetitious will not be permitted. Community members who would like to present information not relevant to the school district are always welcome to communicate directly to the district superintendent, board president, all board members via email or other alternative means. Okay. And we always start in the room. So if there's anybody who has a public comment related to our action items, please approach the podium. At this time, I don't see any people at the podium, so I'll go on the line. And the first number, the hand that's raised, is 788.
My name is, it's 17.1. 17.1. Be it resolved that the Cherry Hill Board of Education authorizes the submission of the preschool expansion NFO for fiscal year 2024. Please vote no, because we have so many other concerning issues in our school district and our community, and the cost would far exceed whatever our state decides to give us. There has been no transparency about this. We don't know what the state's going to give us. In the past, I have referred to a number of documents and articles, including an article in Political entitled Biden's Model Preschool Becomes a Crisis in New Jersey, which includes the statement, the program has an accountability problem. I believe so will our program. From the state spending, total spending 2020 to 2021, that includes general current expenses plus other items such as total capital outlay per pupil, debt service, and locally issued bonds, etc. Cherry Hill School District cost per pupil was $23,801. The cost for these preschool students per pupil will be much higher. Unlike the parents and students who spoke at recent school board meetings about the overcrowding conditions in their children's classroom, it is mandated that a maximum of 15 students per classroom and a teacher plus a paraprofessional is in each classroom. However, last year our school district leaders chose to place students with and without disabilities in overcrowded conditions. To aid those students, they could have hired a paraprofessional to aid the classroom teacher. My question, did they? Was that done? But our leaderships have been focusing resources, time, financial and otherwise, on preschool expansion. These resources could have been utilized and focused on the learning loss of our students in elementary school expansion as that it's needed, and it will be. So please, school board, vote no on this. We don't know exactly how much the state will give us, and it won't come close to what we really need. Thank you very much.
Okay. And we go back to the room. If there's anybody who'd like to speak at the podium. Seeing none, looking online, I don't see any hands raised. And I will close public comment. Okay, we are going on to our work session, and I'm going to ask Ms. Elmore Stratton to give the committee report for CNI, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mrs. Stern. So CNI met, and first, let's say Ms. Winters apologizes that she can't be here this evening, so I'll be reading some notes from the meeting for her. we did discuss the flex options. Dr. Morton shared with us in terms of what was happening with our teachers. They want to make things more consistent. So they're going to be working on a set approved menu of professional development options. It'll still be flex, but they'll know more consistent of everybody getting the same teaching over and over again. So I think that was really awesome that that's happening. In addition, we discussed NJ GPA, and I will just give you like a stay tuned. There will be a formal presentation coming for all of you that love presentations. That is coming soon, and we will ensure that the full board will be here so that we can talk about that. And if I'm missing anything, please, Dr. Mortman, please interrupt me and feel free to just chime in. And then it's also the time of year when we will be doing curriculum approval. Right now, Dr. Morton shared with us that there are some updates at the state level in certain areas, but the state hasn't released them yet. So in September, we'll get an update on, so once we get those new notes from the state, then they'll be able to make any changes if necessary to the curriculum for us. But just remember, board members, that annually we need to approve that. As well as someone had spoke about the social studies curriculum in September. Another spoiler alert, we'll have another either conversation or at least a little update on where we are with that. We talked a little bit about world language, and I'll seep a little bit into my HR committee that we are really, really needing some world language teachers in our district. And so that impact is going outside of HR committee and turning over into curriculum committee because there's such a need. So a plug for my committee later, but just we spoke about that. Also, Dr. Morton shared with us the Carusi Middle School play or musical. I don't want to spoil it if they don't know, so I won't say it out loud, but yes, no. Okay. It's Beauty and the Beast Junior Beauty and the Beast. Okay, awesome. And that will be March 23rd and 24th. So board members, don't act like you didn't know. Put it on your calendars now so you can support Carusi's students in the theater. And then the final thing we talked about was a full day kindergarten survey that went out. We had 296 caregivers responded out of the 832. And so we just talked about some of the things that they learned. It was a very nice report from Hanover, which our admin team got more details, of course, so that they can, make whatever changes or just to talk to their teachers about. But they really have some great, I guess, recommendations for us or possibility recommendations moving forward, and definitely highlighted areas where we were doing well. And it was really interesting because it was both the caregivers and the teachers that participated in the survey. So it was really neat to see if everybody was on one accord. So if you have any questions on that, I'm sure Ms. Winters would be happy. She has a little bit more detail and should be happy to share. And I know that this is really exciting for the kindergarten survey, because this is the survey of the first group of students that got the full year. So remember, we started full day K in 2019, and then COVID stopped it. And so this batch of students that this report was for, it was for students that had finally gone through the full 183 days of school or whatever. So that's really, really good. Dr. Warren, do you want to share anything else from the committee?
Did a great job sharing. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Weathington. You can just share a quick update about preschool expansion aid application.
So Dr. Mahan and her team have been working on the preschool application. There is a resolution on the agenda tonight to approve submission of the application. We need board approval to submit that. We will submit it on the 10th. It's due on the 11th, but you know how state systems work. So in case anything shuts down, we want to make sure that ours is in well before the due date. Dr. Mahan and some of the team at Lewis, Lewis. I get Lewis and Malvern mixed up sometimes. Sorry. We talked a little bit today about the application, some of the elements in there, tweaking up some language, going through it again to make sure everything's tight. So I think that we're in a good position and we'll be submitting this week.
That's awesome. Good to hear. So that is on the agenda for tonight, or on the docket rather for tonight. What I would add to that is that, board members, they have put a lot of time and thought into this, and the timeline from when we were talking about this in October of last year to now, it has been really exciting to see how in depth Dr. Mahan and her team are going to ensure that we have a really good implementation and that we're doing it to fidelity once we do it. Cherry Hill, we don't like to do things if we're going to do them halfway. So we know for a fact that Dr. Mahan has before, she got full day kindergarten up and rolling, and now we got the proof that that is a wonderful thing. And so I just urge everybody to just really talk with Dr. Mahan if you have questions, or scratch that order of command, talk with Dr. Morton if you have any questions, but she's happy to share. She has been very transparent with us, and even taking, thought of any questions we might have, suggestions or edits or any of that. Like, we know what we're talking about, but she's done a really great job. And once we do have a presentation from her, she'll be thoroughly able to share where they're at in the process, also share some updates possibly on the parent side, but I don't want to make any promises for that. But I know lots of people have questions, and I just tell you that be patient, and we will get it going the right way. But right now, board tonight will be voting to go ahead with submission. Okay. Any other questions for the CNI committee?
Yeah, just one, and for Mrs. Wellington or Ms. Elmore Stratton. First of all, I know how hard Dr. Mahan and her team has worked, and some of the board members, and I'm confident that the application will be submitted and will be extremely thorough, and the work that's gone into it is impressive. Have there been any updates potentially on when decisions will be made at the state level, as far as when we might hear? I know that's kind of an unfair question because it's a moving target, like so much it's not under our control. I know. Just wondering if there's anything out there that you've been told about that.
Mr. Mayor, sadly, you have the backup person, not the primary person today, and perhaps, but I'm not aware of any updates. That does not mean they're not updates. I'm just not aware.
Sorry. I will say that Mrs. Winters was provided some specific details on that. Since she has a network of folks at the state level as well. So she's been able to get some information to be helpful for Dr. Mahan. So perhaps she might be able to answer that question as well. And one thing I think I really do want to say concerning this, so that there's not any confusion, and then I'm not saying anything else about it. But we absolutely will be having preschool. So grant or funding stream or no funding stream, the district has committed to turning over our current preschool to full day, correct? And so we're going to ensure that even if we don't get those monies, we are going to be prepared to serve more preschoolers and serve them well. And then maybe we'll ask the state for money later. I don't know. But yes, I just want to make that very clear that preschool is happening. No questions about it. And so just hold out. If you do have other questions, I'm sure that Dr. Mahan's office is happy to take them. And I don't have anything else. Is there any questions, Ms. Stern?
Thank you, Mrs. Elmer-Stratton. So just a couple things to add. First of all, in the CNI committee, one real standout piece of information, which I'm looking forward to the full presentation on the kindergarten survey, but one real standout was the high level of satisfaction, very high level of satisfaction from teachers and parents about our full day K program. And I mean, like in the 90s, I think, which is, I don't know how often we see anything. We have so much level of agreement on something, and positive agreement. So I thought that was really exciting, and great to see. Excuse me, that was one thing. And as far as the unfortunately, I think it's too bad that both Dr. Mahan and Mrs. Winters are not here because for tonight, but I do want to really thank their work, Mrs. Weathington, Mrs. Sugars, Dr. Morton. We've had quite a few meetings. I haven't been involved in all of them, but some of them on specifically the application. Dr. Mahan solicited input from the board on the specific application. I want to thank the board members who were at the table here tonight, who were involved in providing feedback, who read through the application, gave feedback to just, whatever we could add to improve, and also the lengthy discussions and the preparation that our administration has done to respond to all our questions, all of our any that were concerns, to make sure that we were really putting in an excellent application. There's so much detail to what goes into the application, the eligibility, there's ranking systems for points, for getting points on your application. So I know Dr. Mahan and the team who worked with her were very mindful about ensuring that kind of all the intentions that the state is looking for, the components were really hit upon to have a successful application. So it's one of those situations I can certainly say that I feel like we gave it absolute, best foot forward with the application. I'm really excited about it. And I believe that that we will hear back in September. Does that sound? I don't have the date in front of me, but in September is when we will know whether or not our application is approved. And then more details will be forthcoming, from the people who are intimately involved with it. So, but, just a real kudos to the whole team. I'm looking at Mrs. Sugars because you have the budgetary side of it, which is a heavy lift. So, and just appreciate all of the work together on this. It's a huge initiative, really, really huge. So at the very least, at this moment, we know we are going to have full day preschool in the fall, and that's exciting. More kids are going to be receiving preschool and a full day class. So. All
Thank
right.
you, Mr. Stern. And I'll just add one other thing, shameless plug again for HR. We definitely are right now hiring staff. I say we, but I'm not doing any of that work. The HR team is hiring staff right now, specific to preschool, specific to pre-K to 2 cert or 3 certs, pre-K to 3 certs. So please spread the word. Board members, please share, click like, follow, all that good stuff so that we can get some great teachers in here. That's all I have, Mr. Stern.
Great, thank you. And now we go to Mr. Greenbaum. If you could please give the BNF report.
Thank you. So this week, I have the privilege of summarizing some of the progress on the construction that's going on this summer, courtesy of Mrs. Sugars and Mr. Nicolella for Building and Grounds. So we'll start with some of the roofing projects. Roof replacement at High School East, roof restoration at Cooper and Knight, and roof restoration and HVAC replacement at Sharp are all on track to be completed by the contractual deadline of August 25th. Looking at full roof replacement at Beck Middle School and roof replacement and HVAC at Woodcrest Elementary School, also on target for August 25th. Then we have a much bigger contract for some bigger projects with High School West roof replacement, Barton and Kilmer roof replacement, Kingston roof replacement and HVAC. There is significant progress there. Completion of all major work is expected to be done by the start of the school year in September, with any ongoing work being done outside of school hours to minimize disruption. But that's expected to be completed in September, I believe. We have students coming back September 5th, and staff can return to affected buildings August 31st. Those that might be impacted should have been contacted by building principals. We certainly understand the disruption and appreciate your patience. If you have any questions or concerns or looking for any additional accommodations, please reach out to building principals. We also have stadium improvements at High School East are set to begin late October and complete in spring of 2024 to avoid any impact to football games there. At Rosa Middle School, hazardous material abatement, I believe, is being completed. New lockers have arrived and work is expected to be completed there by September of 2023 before the school year starts. New playgrounds at Thomas Paine and Bret Hart. The equipment's been purchased and the work is expected to be completed by September 2023. That work is underway right now. APR additions. Anticipated bid openings in October with bids to be awarded October 17th, and APRs, these are at Kingston, Barton, Sharp, Knight, Johnson, and Mann, anticipated to be completed March of 2025. Partial replacement of HVAC in the D wing of High School West. That's being done under ROD grant funds, and that's expected to be done throughout summer and fall of 2023. Temporary classroom units for Carusi. Those are estimated to be installed spring of 2025. There's some substantial work being done there that'll necessitate the use of temporary classroom units. Site work at Lewis and Stockton is expected to be completed the week of August 14th, pending any issues with township permits and inspections. And lastly, Malberg Playground. The playground equipment has been purchased, poured in place, surfaces have been poured in place, and concrete ramp and curbing expected to begin, already did begin in July and should be ready by the school year as well. All right, got a lot to cover this week. Next, we had a discussion on bond cost communication, both with the board and with the public. Mrs. Sugars worked with Bob Garrison to find some more effective ways to communicate what is in a bid, what's covered, and give us just an easier way to compare what's being bid on versus the estimate. Mrs. Sugars' team is currently working on a way to provide a more concise summary to the public, and that will be eventually communicated out through the Cherry Hill Tomorrow website, which now redirects to part of chclc.org. There's some end of year closeout activities, closing out the previous fiscal year and opening the new fiscal year. This includes finalizing the budget and getting ready for the annual audit. And lastly, we have acceptance of some donations from West Theater Boosters to be used for the spring musical, and from East Musicians On Call Club being used to purchase musical instruments for elementary schools. So thank you very much for your generosity. All right, it's a pretty full one this week. Any questions from the board? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Greenbaum. You may have said this because I know you brought up Cherry Hill Tomorrow, because I was just on it now. Are we in the midst of still updating it for exactly like everything you listed, or how are we going about making sure that everyone knows what's going on? Is that what we're using it for? Are we doing that now?
Yep, I was immediately going to turn it around to Mrs. Sugars. We had discussed making some more regular updates to Cherry Hill Tomorrow to reflect progress and include some pictures when we can.
Yeah, there's a summary on the website, probably needs to be updated at this point, unfortunately, because things are literally changing on a daily basis. What we need to update that, what we're working on now is providing financial information to accompany the summary information that's on the Cherry Hill Tomorrow website. So we're still trying to provide information without overwhelming people. So we're still working on that as well. We expect to have that up before the return of students in September.
Thank you.
Yep, and I'll add, if you go to the Cherry Hill Tomorrow landing page, right at the top, there's phase 1 bond project summary. Has a very nice summary of all of the work that's been done this summer and continues into the fall. I've been pointing people to that when they want to know what's going on. I know I have some friends with young children very excited about the work being done at their schools, and that was a great place to be able to point them to so they could see what exactly is being done. Yes, Mrs. Stern.
Just, I guess, to kind of piggyback a little bit on what you're saying about getting the communication out there. And I every time we meet and talk about projects and I hear from Mrs. Sugars and, and we get updates, et cetera, I just think about like how, enormous it is to do all of this work at all of these schools. And like any other project, when anyone does a renovation or projects, there are always snags or always things that unfortunately go wrong. And it's just the reality. And now we're living that, it's not just in theory. We talked about it for so long, there's going to be a lot of pain points, but now we're really kind of coming up to the reality of that. And I think in addition to sorting all that and keeping an eye, I mean, Mrs. Sugars, I remember you saying, I drove around to these schools and that, you're looking at all the work and many of us are, kind of seeing in the community what's going on at our schools. There's also the piece of, we just getting this communication piece, really working to get it usable, user-friendly for not only for the board, but for the community. So I know we're getting there and it's definitely happening. And I think, I'm looking forward to, when that comes to fruition, because it is important. It is important that we continue to be able to easily monitor both the board and also community, that the level of responsibility that is going into these projects in terms of strong oversight and good fiscal management, which is, definitely the case. And it's very I mean, every time we talk about a meeting in BNF, it's really complicated, which is very grateful that there's so many capable people involved. So just kind of adding to part of what, came up in our meeting and thank you. Oh, I do want to also just shout out to the both groups that donated, to help our schools, the West Theater Boosters and the East Musicians on Call. The Theater Boosters, I'm assuming are a parent group. So that was, really, and the kids, I would imagine they all came together to help out the theater, which is great for the spring musical. And then, and the student group, the East Musicians on Call. I mean, they go out and play off hours and raise money for our, the younger students, the upcoming generation of musicians. So it's just nice to have that.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now we move on back to Mrs. Elmore Stratton for HR.
Thank you, Mrs. Stern. So for HR, I wanted to start off just by saying, as we go into the next school year, I think we're a month out from school start. So with the HR team is really working very hard to fill our vacancies. They can only do what they can in terms of, they only have two hands, but it's us as a board and also any community members to spread the word. Looking at our page right now, there's several positions open. There's a high need. We talked about this when we talked about recruitment. There's a high need for elementary and middle school, and specifically middle school language teachers. So we still need some folks to fill these seats, and not just bobs, like I like to call them, bodies on board, but quality people that are ready to take care of our most precious assets. So please continue to share that. Mrs. Lieber has gone as far as to look at a couple of upcoming conferences in the area, or some schools that she can go to in order to recruit, or send a staff team rather to recruit. And so I thank her for connecting the dots there. And she's really committed to putting together a robust recruitment plan moving forward. You'll see a little bit of that on the goals this evening, as well as retention. We discussed retention as well. And as we know, all districts they're giving away free cars if you come work at their district. Like everybody's got all the bells and whistles because they need folks so badly. So we really talked about what other retention pieces we can have. So that'll be an ongoing conversation moving forward. Mrs. Lieber, can I speak to the job descriptions that are on the docket tonight? So I can share, okay. Board members, you will see on the docket this evening for you to approve two new, I don't want to say if they're new, but two positions that that is much needed. I believe one is in the music and another is, what is the other one? Ms. Lieber, what's the lead principal? That's what it was. Thank you. So we will be approving those this evening. If you have any questions on it, please let me know, obviously, when we get to that section. And then the other thing that we talked about, my favorite thing, school-age childcare. We know, board members, that there's an extreme need for us to get folks off the wait list. And so I will say the SAC team is really committed to it. I've been talking to some parents and families. They've been getting pulled off the list daily or as needed. But what I did want to share with the rest of the board is that we're kind of maxed out in terms of the amount of educational assistants that are also working in the AM or the PM. So we need more than just that, more hands than that. We are, I would say, almost at every site is missing at least 4 staff that they could use in order to just meet the needs of the wait list. So that's another thing that Mrs. Lieber, prior to us even meeting for committee, she had already taken a lead and spoken with the SAC team, SAC staff, to see how they can go about promoting, and she could also make that part of her recruitment efforts or recruitment plan for school-age childcare. I will say that as folks come on, I do know that they will pull people off of the wait list as fast as they can. There's also some people that have signed up and registered, but they won't show. So that it gives opportunity. So just everyone be patient. And other than that, just know that we need more people, more hands. So if you have ideas on that, or if you want to just come and spend 3 to 5 hours with some amazing students, you are welcome to, and especially our students in the high school level. If you want to come back and give back to your elementary school, this is the time to do it. So just throwing that out there. And then lastly, just wanted to, I believe Mrs. Stern will be updating everybody on the superintendent search. However, just want to reiterate that for HR department, we will never be sharing any type of information that is confidential or specific to any staff or employee. That is something that we really are sticking to. I know there's been some issues in the last couple of weeks or days, but I am never going to sit here and give a report on someone's private business. Their business is their business and our business is ours. So just know that that's happening. But if you have questions, board, you are welcome to not only ask me, but you can ask Mrs. Stern if you would like to be a part of that committee when we do have a committee meeting. Mrs. Fleischer and I are on the committee, but we certainly can have at least one more person listen in if you'd like to. So just wanted to make that clear. And I don't know, were you going to share about superintendent search now or later? Later. Okay. Any questions? Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Elmer Stratton. Actually, it wasn't a question, but just an excitement. I'm really happy about the district music coordinator position that is on, as well as the lead principal, because I think both of those are a great step forward to increase communication and just really bring our district back into hopefully having more support with it for each other. And I'm just really happy that both of those are on the agenda tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Fleischer. It's definitely going to help them to be more cohesive. We know there's just not enough hands, but perhaps these will help take a little bit of that off of some other folks' plates. Any other questions? Mrs. Stern?
Just I appreciate with that position that, you know, there were questions and concerns over last year about students and instruments and, you know, having access to be able to be part of music. And I think this is really going to help, because for a long time, right, the music department didn't have a specific lead. You know, I think they reported directly to the assistant superintendent. So having someone kind of help coordinate them is, you know, it's a stipend position. So it's not an enormous addition of a whole, full-time equivalent position, but it is a help. And I think, I think it's just nice when we can find creative ways like this from a human resources perspective to, provide that support for, the staff and therefore the students, in the district to move things forward. So just to me, it's such a win when we're able to do this and respond to those needs.
Thank you, Mrs. Stern. And I did want to just one more thing besides the us promoting this within our own high schools. I know they'll be going to do some tabling at the high schools once we open to try to get some of those students to apply. But I encourage, if you have a college graduate sitting at home trying to figure out life's next step, they can be out here and get 3 hours or 2 hours in the morning just to put a couple dollars in their pocket while they think. I mean, I will share that was my move. I went and worked in SAC and then discovered my love for all things youth development. So you never know what can come from it. But parents, if you've got a few students that decided they're going to chill out, send them on over to us, please. Or send them to Mrs. Lieber, please, not to me. Am I missing anything, Ms. Lieber? All right. Thank you so much. That's it, Ms. Stern.
Well, considering that HR is usually a very light agenda, it was great. Thank you. Okay, we move on to Mrs. Fleischer for P&L.
Thank you, Mrs. Stern. I was not able to be at the meeting last week, and I want to thank Mrs. Wethington, of course, but especially Mr. Mayor, who took over the chair of the committee. So I'm going to hand it over to him tonight to do the notes from the meeting. Thanks.
You're too kind, and you may not be thanking me after you hear the update and you see how badly I butchered your committee last week. No, in all seriousness, we had a good meeting, very drama free. We discussed a handful of policies, which were for first reading tonight. The first being policy 2270, simply reaffirming the policy on religion in schools and respect for the private, each individual and each family's private beliefs with regard to school and what is and what is not appropriate within school time, school instruction, and certain accommodations which are also appropriate under some circumstances, just for first reading tonight. We also discussed policy 3217 and 4217. Term corporal punishment, that's the policy, always raises some concern just because of the words. Again, these were really taken from the 1920s, 1930s. It mirrors state statute in that regard. We're looking for further clarification as well, which we are going to get, and speaking together with Mr. Green before it comes up for second reading. I do recognize, and again, having not sat on the committee and being involved in the debates in any detail, that there are good reasons to want to understand really what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, what's allowed, what's not allowed, and we'll have the ample opportunity to do that. So when we bring this back for a second reading, it will be transparent. We'll have that opportunity to discuss it. We then discussed policies 5310 and 5320. Initially, there was, as my understanding was, some concern with the removal of certain immunization targeted language from that particular policy. However, that language really was just moved into the health services policy. So it is still in effect. There's been no practical change with regard to the requirements and reporting on immunization. Finally, Mrs. Lieber was able to give us a very high level update on a policy alert with regards to some changes to the state's sick leave guidance. And I'd be happy actually to put you on the spot. I shouldn't have said happy to put you on the spot. I'm going to do that. I'm not necessarily happy about it. So Ms. Lieber, if you'd like to, give us just another couple minutes on some of the high level changes that are coming, we'd be happy to listen for a moment or two. Because again, there was nothing controversial there, but might be good for the board to hear from you again.
Put me on the mic. The state added reasons legally that we have to let employees utilize their sick time for. The first two we were using already anyway, which is for their own personal illness and for the illness of family members. So there's not going to be a lot of changes to that. The other areas that they added was bereavement. They also added for domestic violence, which a lot of it was close to what the SAFE Act was. So there wasn't a lot of changes there in that piece. And then there was two other areas they added that they could utilize time for, which we're working on putting together the policy, and we're working on notifying the staff on what documentation they need to give us.
All right.
The need for a staff member to attend.
It's not on.
They use his. First, teaching staff members to utilize that time so that they can attend to their own children's needs for school. So parent-teacher conferences and the like. And then there's certain areas where they have to have give pre-notification to the district. Obviously, in certain circumstances, you can't do that. But all boards are working out kind of their own particular policies for that.
And so, Mrs. Lieber, thank you for that clarification as well. And we also had an opportunity here, and this was actually the closed session portion, which took up most of our time from Mr. Saporito, who gave us an update on the school security situation, the policy. I'll just simply leave it at, we were all very impressed with the thoroughness of not just of the presentation, but of the thoroughness, readiness, communication, and skilled ability of all of both the school staff who would be responders, together with our school resource officers, the Cherry Hill, the board officers, and Cherry Hill Police. That all 19 schools are and will remain as secure as they possibly can be. It was really very impressive presentation. Finally, up for second reading, policy 2419, no changes from first reading on the school threat assessment teams, which are in place in all 19 schools. And that is the update from P&L. Anything else from P&L members who were there that would like to add? Any comments I may have left out? Any questions for me or anyone else who was there? Yes, Mrs. Elmore Stratton.
Such a long name, right? Mr. Mayor, so since you had that closed session for the security piece, is it safe to say that Mr. Saporito's work in the policies or how we will handle threats will not be something that we would ever discuss in public, just because that would infringe upon the safety, or is that not a good assumption?
That is an excellent and accurate assumption.
Okay, thank you.
And by the, I'll just add, that is standard law enforcement practice, not just in the school environment, but particularly so in a school environment.
Right, just want to be clear that it's not for lack of transparency on our part, but because it's actually part of how we keep kids safe
Exactly, and staff safe.
and staff, yes.
That's it. Thank you.
Well, you thought you were done, but unfortunately, you got
that-
one more to go.
Is that because you're having so much fun listening to me?
Yes. Mr. Mayor, would you kindly give the strategic planning report?
I certainly will. So strategic planning also met last week. We are going to continue the work, which thankfully was spearheaded initially by Dr. Rude with regard to sustainability. One of the not necessarily new issues, but we're gonna look to enlist some more assistance from current district staff, both high schools together at the middle schools and then moving into the elementary schools in order to help motivate as many students as possible, not just in sustainability education, but also programs to really excite them better, get them thinking more about what can they do on a daily basis, what can you do as a classroom, various projects, what can they bring in from home, what sorts of even competitive programs can we come up with for the school so that each school can compete with one another, who can top the next with regard to a particular sustainability problem. And we all know, we know that this kind of good-natured competition can be very effective in motivating students in any number of areas. And this is one that we think particularly can be quite effective. We had the opportunity a couple months ago to hear from the great work that is going on at Rosa with regards to their sustainability programs. And we're going to look to see what can we mirror at the other two middle schools. What can we take from that program to expand to other schools as well? A couple of other areas that we talked about in some detail, and one that for me is very important. I mentioned it when I first attempted to become a member of the board, and it's as important to me now as it always has been, and that is communication. I've said it in the past, and hopefully I won't continue to have to say that we need to do better. I think we recognize that we can do better, and doing better can mean exploring other avenues, other ways that we can actually engage with the community, with the staff, with the students, and do a better job of explaining what we do, how we do it, why we do it, who we are, and also find better ways to listen to what is important to the community and to the staff in ways that are truly beneficial, that allow actual engagement back and forth so that there can be progress. It is unsatisfying to hear from community members and sometimes from staff and from students of complaints and issues and not have an opportunity to engage at that time and maybe explain why a situation exists as it is. So we're going to try and find the best ways, or at least start with better ways to communicate and enlist some different avenues. Step one will be a communications audit, and thank you to Barbara for commencing that. As I understand that, that is in the works. We'll hear more as we move forward. The communications audit will allow us to understand what is working best, what is working least, what is not working at all, what can be changed. And we're going to look at everything top to bottom, including our website. How can we make that more user-friendly? How can we make it easier for people to find what they are truly looking for quickly? How can we make sure that everybody knows where to find what they're looking for? It's not all about the website, but we live in a time when That's generally the first place people go for information. So we'd like to, we'd like to know what's working and what's not, and what are our options. Speaking of options, we also talked about trying to ensure that the district is in a better place in coming years to have more options to address potential demographic changes down the road. We are going to, and we've reached out, as I understand, Mr. Sugars has reached out to Dr. Grip, and we're going to talk to him, and he's putting together a proposal, come back in. Let's take another look at our demographics. Let's also take a look at where we are today based upon where his initial study told us that we would be. And it just makes good sense, I think, to do that so that we are not stuck in a position 2, 3, 4, 10 years down the road with few, if any, options to address potential demographic changes. So if we know what's coming, we can start looking now to be in a great position to address where this community is going to be. District, at least in my view, and I think we would agree, is, we're here to serve the students that we now have, but also the students who we are going to have in the future, right? So that's as important to look at. So those were the three top line issues that we talked about. We had a brief opportunity to engage the community with public comment. And my takeaway from that is that the community was looking forward to our efforts to improve communication, as we are looking forward to the community's partnership in that regard. That's it from strategic plan. Any questions? Anyone else who was there on the committee have anything to add? All right. Now I'm really done.
Thank you. That was great. Very excited for the audit. I think that could be really help us. I mean, I think it's one thing when we, have people reach out to us and say, well, where do I find this? Or where's the information on this? Or we try to find it, like happens sometimes, but or to know about something. It's another thing to have a comprehensive look and which will help direct a clear, well-devised plan for improvement. So it's always better we can do it that way. So excited. Okay, we move on to our special action agenda, and Mrs. Elmore Stratton, if you could please move the CNI agenda.
The superintendent recommends, and I move the following: 17.1 resolution for preschool aid. Do I have a second? Dr. Rude, and any questions? Okay, Ms. Sugars.
Okay, board members, you may cast your votes. We have a unanimous yes vote.
Okay, and Mr. Greenbaum, can you please move the BNF agenda?
Thank you. And I wrote down the script ahead of time, so I think I should get this right. It's my first time here. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following: 18.1, approval of bill lists; 18.2, resolution for the award of bids. Do I have a second? Mrs. Fleischer, any questions? Okay, Mrs. Sugars, please open the voting.
Okay, board members, you may cast your votes. And we have a unanimous yes vote.
Okay, Mrs. Elmore Stratton, can you please move the HR agenda?
Absolutely. Superintendent recommends, and I move the following: 19.1 termination of employment certificated, 19.2 termination of employment non-certificated, appointment certificated, appointments non-certificated, assignment, a salary change certificated, assignment, salary change non-certificated, other compensation certificated. I always think I'm saying that wrong. 19.8 approval of sidebar agreement, 19.9 contract renewal certificated. And do I have a second? Mr. Mayor? And any questions? All right, Mrs. Sugars.
Okay, board members, you may cast your votes.
Mrs. Sugars, I have to abstain from 19.4 to avoid a conflict of interest.
Okay, other than the exception noted, we have a unanimous yes vote.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Sugars, one more, 19.5 as well. Sorry, again, abstain to avoid a conflict of interest. Okay, we move on to policy and legislation. Mrs. Fleischer, we have no items for voting. Great. And strategic planning, Mr. Mayor. No items for voting.
Not tonight.
Excellent. Okay. So we move on to new business. Mrs. Fleischer, if you would like to raise some new business.
Sure, I would. Tonight for new business, I'm raising the board goals for the year 2023-24. And this is a yearly process that the board takes on. And this year has been really enlightening and a great exercise for our board. The board creates a committee of, there were 4 of us on the committee. It was Mr. Mayor, myself, Mrs. Elmer Stratton, and Mrs. Winters. And what we did this year is we looked at our board goals that we've had over the previous year and looked at where they sort of fell with all of our committees into CNI, BNF, policy and legislation, strategic planning. And that's sort of how we started our whole research into our board goals. Then actually we contacted and worked directly with our assistant superintendents in the administration, and we worked together to try to find a new way to sort of move forward with new goals based on the previous ones that we needed to take off that we've actually accomplished last year, ones that we need to move forward, and new creative ways that we can find that to help with student achievement, collaboration, and strengthening the district and, making sure that the board goals were strong going forward. I do want to say that I wanted to thank, and I brought it up before, the assistant superintendents, the administration, and especially Dr. Morton really stepped up this year. Many of us, or all of us who have looked at the board goals before, it's been on the same, the way that it has been shown on our website. You can go onto the website right now and you can see our board goals. We have 3 main objectives. And what Dr. Morton actually helped us do this year, and being a new leader of the district himself as superintendent, he actually revamped it and redesigned the way that we will be looking at our goals going forward. And I thought that this, and our committee thought that this was a great step. And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to that.
Absolutely, yes. So I think it was pretty clear based upon conversations that the board has had and the feedback that the board has received from the community, that there was a desire for our goals to be clear and for there to be clarity around them, measurable, focused, and relevant, so that anyone who's reading the goals, the layman has a clear understanding of what we believe about children, what we believe about learning, and how we intend to accomplish what we believe. So that truly was the intention, just taking all of the feedback and, again, plugs for truly collaborative effort, but taking the feedback and collaborating amongst ourselves as an administrative team with the board as well to, develop a coherent document. So.
And the feedback from our board has been amazing. Right now, we're working on a working document and we plan on bringing it to the public at our next meeting on the 22nd of August to show everybody what our new goals going forward are. Right now, we are in the midst of having the board members and the administration, assistant superintendent, and also working, like I said, directly with Dr. Morton on exactly what the final product will be, but we're really close to it. And I'm really happy and very excited to have been part of this process because I think it actually is sort of showing I think a new day in collaboration with the board and the administration. And really, like Dr. Morton had said, it's very clear, concise, it's very data driven, which is very helpful. And I think our families and our students will be the beneficiaries of that. And I think that, it's something that we're really looking forward to showing to the public next meeting. So that's what we can look forward to. Does anyone have any questions about the goals right now? Mr. Mayor.
Well, no questions. Primarily because thankfully I was part of the process. I wanted to mimic really your mirror, your comments, and thank Dr. Morton and his team also for, again, the level of collaboration was what it should always be, and hopefully will be going forward. This document feels right. That's just to put it in the simplest terms. And I was very happy to be part of the team that put last year's goals together. But I will say that that process it felt clunky in a way. I mean, the information was there, the goals were there. It was all it was there. The product was right, but this has a better feel to it. It flows. The objective and what we as a board hope that the district is doing for its students, I think is spelled out better here. It's cleaner. I look at it like last year's goals, the current goal. To me, it's akin to opening up an IKEA box and seeing 75-page instructions. They're there, and if but this is a much cleaner piece of work, and it's impressive. Captures the concerns and the desires that we as a group had, and in collaboration with Dr. Moore and his team. I think I'm excited. I'll be disappointed. Unfortunately, I can't be here in 2 weeks. I'll be taking my first daughter to college. So I'll be happy about that, but I won't be here to when this is voted upon. But I'm happy to have taken part and thankful for the collaboration. Looking forward to helping to drive these goals forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just to actually reiterate something that you actually said too, I really believe it's so user friendly. You don't use those very easily when you would say board goals, but I have to say, with Dr. Morton helping us figure out this new form, it is a student can read it and understand what our board goals are. I don't know if that has ever happened before as easily as I think this will roll out to be. So it can be from students all the way to teachers, to principals. There will be a lot greater community buy-in, I believe, because they'll be able to understand it more and they can be part of our teamwork. And I think this makes Cherry Hill going forward a stronger team. And that's what I sort of see, a collaboration and a team coming out of this. So any further questions? Yes, Mr. Greenman.
Thank you. I agree. I really like the way this came together. There are a couple things I just wanted to call out as things I was very happy to see in here. And one were what came across as logical follow-on activities to the equity study findings from last year, which is something I followed as a parent even before joining the board. This had to do with addressing any identified achievement gaps, as well as addressing disparate disciplinary outcomes. I also really like seeing the focus on achievement, looking at specific and targeted interventions, and the use of objective metrics to quantify what is hopefully our success. But I wanted to call those out. I really like seeing those in there, and I think those are some things that are important to the community as well.
Great, thank you, Mr. Greenbaum. Dr. Root, did you have some questions?
So it's a pleasure to work on the process last year. Although I think I was the only one that appreciated that we were using a table format, and I happen to love tables, grids, maps, graphs, all those kind of data driven things. But I do see how this document is much more palatable to the masses, and I appreciate that. I think it looks awesome. The only thing I did notice is there's a couple of things that didn't have indicators for success. And I was wondering if those were going to be addressed. And if I have any, I was going to ask if I have any suggestions on the document, who would be the best person to reach out to?
So I'm glad that you brought that up. If you see anything that you want to work on, please let me know. And I've been working with Dr. Morton and Mrs. Stern. We can work all together. It's sort of collaboration. So get in touch with me and we'll start from there. And then, like I said, this is a working document. That's why we're sort of bringing it up. Like the entire board got the right now, what is, the rough draft today. So we have between now and the 22nd to sort of firm everything up, and then we'll present it to the public. So just, get in touch with me. That would be perfect.
Sounds great. Thank you for all the hard work you guys are doing.
Of course. Any further questions or comments? All right,
I
well,
have a
thank you.
comment.
Oh, you do. Thank you.
I just really want to thank you, Mrs. Fleischer. I mean, I know, you and I had multiple conversations about taking this on. This was a really big project, and I can appreciate it, having been more intimately involved with it in the previous years. This year, I was very happy to say, thank you so much. I'm stepping back. Please take it. And you did so. I probably didn't tell you how many times board members told me how great the meetings were, how much they appreciated the process. And I think it was so easy to then take all the work that you guys were doing and had talked to originally with Dr. Malash. And then, Dr. Morton just stepped right in. And it was very easy to have those conversations with you about it. And I think, even today, the fast and furious back and forth, emails and notes and, what about this? What about this? It's, I think to Dr. Rood's point, we need everyone's voice from the table to be part of this, to add into what the administration has done. It's great. And I just really thank you for you and your leadership with the other folks on your committee. It was a lot of work.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate that. But I appreciate all the work of my committee, because all of you put a lot of time and effort into it. Mrs. Elmer Stratton and Mr. Mayor are here tonight. Mrs. Winters is away, but and also all the board members who could text me and email, because I think, like I said, I'm feeling really great about this. I think it's a great step for us. And I'm very thankful also, as I keep saying, to Dr. Morton, because he really sort of brought it all together for us in this. But thank you. Any further questions or comments? Okay, thank you so much, Mrs. Stern.
Okay. So our business section is full tonight. So I do want to share with board members that I have some more new business, and that is, I guess it's kind of new business. Maybe it's old business, actually. So I'll stop and pause. Does anybody else have any other new business? Because this actually is a little bit more old business. Mrs. Elmer Stratton.
Ms. Stern, Mr. Mayor, I know we are doing our board evaluations of ourselves or whatnot, but I wanted to throw out there that if there's maybe a possibility to do some sort of like, what do you call it, 360, 180 evaluation, that we can hear more concerns from the public so we can know what to zero in, but specifically just to us, so that we can be more responsive to direct suggestions and critiques, as opposed to us having to guess or only hearing things in public comments. So I don't know, just something that I would love to see us do is, do some sort of 180 assessment, or is it 360? I don't know.
So Mrs. Elmer Stratton, I think that's great to put into the board self-evaluation. If you would make sure to add that in, and I think we can kind of take that information and have more dialogue about it. That's great. Any other new business? Okay, I will then transition to old business. So two pieces of, I think, old business, we would say. One is a brief update. So I'm very excited to say that HYA, which is the firm that is leading our permanent superintendent search, has been working very closely with Mrs. Sugars and Mrs. Wilson, and we've received a few updates recently. So there will be quite a few meetings with stakeholders coming up. So there's a long list of stakeholders that we've received, and they are on the parent side, on the community side, on the community group side, internal at the administrative level, and also collective bargaining units, staff at every level, former BOE members, clergy and religious organizations throughout town, community resources, and groups representing all of our different communities throughout town. And of course, very importantly, students will also be part of stakeholder input. We're talking about students at our two comprehensive high schools, and also input from our alternative high school, and also our middle school students will be giving direct input. So all of those meetings, which is a lot of meetings, are being worked on as essentially as focus groups. So that's one piece of work that's being done with our search firm. The search firm is also setting up in conjunction with the district, and Mrs. Wilson is going to be sharing information out shortly as dates are firmed up. Our HYA was expecting to do 3 community meetings, but they're actually going to do 4, is my understanding, because our community is engaged. So we wanted to make sure there were opportunities for everybody. The challenge is they're planning to do these pretty early at the start of the new school year. And as we all know, it's a very, very busy time of year here in Cherry Hill and most school districts. So I want to say I want to kind of level set a little bit about expectations. There may be 1 or 2 community focus group nights that might conflict with some other events like back to school night. However, the intention is to give enough options that even if there is 1 or there are 2 conflicting nights, there will still be other nights that don't conflict with any of our back to school nights or other district activities. I am sure there will be conflicts with non-district activities. And we hear that a lot. And I know I live that too. I'm sure most of us do with our children. Our children have their own activities. We as adults have our own activities outside of school district related things. So in an effort to do the absolute best, we're giving 4 nights I wouldn't say they're all nights because I'm not sure they're all at night, but 4 focus group opportunities for the community to give stakeholder input on the search. And this will be a combination. There will be planned both in person with, of course, live stream, and also live stream only and virtual only. So trying to kind of cover all the bases and give the greatest opportunity for input. So stay tuned. I think, Mrs. Wilson, we might be hearing more about this very shortly, possibly by the end of next week. Okay. In days. Okay. So I don't want to give too much of a spoiler alert, but it's coming, and it's definitely a lot of coordination and a lot of discussion to ensure that we are comprehensive and inclusive in getting a voice. And those are just the focus groups. We also have surveys and other ways that people can connect to give input. So More coming. But students, spread the word. It's coming to you guys too, and to your schools. So board member comments or questions about that? And as we have more, we'll share out more. Okay. I have another old business item I wanted to raise. This has been in discussion on and off for quite some time and recently was raised in one of our Thursday morning meetings. So trying to ensure that we provide public comment opportunities for the community. What about the idea of a predictable public comment time for everybody? So what if we moved public comment to the front of our meeting before presentations, before recognitions, all that stuff, and made it on any school-related, community-related, any school-related topic rather than specifically to the agenda items? This would give a predictable time for students, very importantly, which we've talked a lot about, and also for community members to have a public comment. So kind of a big change up, but just a thought. I want to thank Mrs. Sugars had some input on that idea, which was helpful. Okay, I'll leave it there. Curious if anybody has any input.
I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea. It could be a good idea. Are we within our right as the board to cap it at a certain amount of time? Can we say like no longer than an hour or something like that? Because I could see, starting off a meeting with 3 hours of public comment, I would want to walk out of the meeting and not stay for the rest. I mean, so I don't know.
Absolutely, the board is within its rights, and I'm not sure what your particular bylaw calls for at this point, but generally speaking, most boards have a per person limit. They would allow an individual to come back at the end once everybody is given their amount but saying we're going to limit the entirety of it to an hour. And then the board also has the opportunity, say you have a large contentious issue that you really want to have more input on at that type of meeting, saying we are extending, public comment to more than an hour. We'll make it an hour and a half tonight. So you have that flexibility, but as a general proposition, people limit it to each individual has a limited amount of time, and then you can limit the overall.
So in that framework, I think having a single public comment section at the beginning of the meeting sounds like a reasonable idea. I mean, we're going to be putting in that time anyway later in the meeting. I don't know what other people think, but.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think that, and we know we've heard this complaint fairly often, that especially in longer meetings, I mean, we've been fortunate the summer meetings have been very tolerable, almost pleasant. And that's not always the case, and that's fine. The work is hard and we need to do it, and we need to spend time on the issues that come up as they come up. But in so doing, we've had situations many times when we don't get home until midnight or after 1 o'clock, and those are the meetings where second public comment sometimes doesn't start till 9 o'clock, 9:30. It is what it is, because there's a lot of work that has to be done, but we know that that's a problem. It's a problem for many in the community, that they have lives, as do we. It's difficult for them, and we want, I think, to do what we can to allow the community to voice issues, concerns. And sometimes it's not concerns. Sometimes, people will get up and say nice things. We like to hear that too. But they're less likely to stick around if it's 10:30 to say something nice. But if otherwise, we might, we're hearing something else. Bottom line is, I think if we give the community, and certainly if the students know that public comment is going to start at 6:30, at 6:45, soon after we start, I think that's a great thing. I think it will bring out more people who feel like they want to be involved and they want to have their their voice heard, it'll give them that incentive to come out and do it. Dr. Root, I think that's a good point, though. It's touchy. Anytime we're saying the word limit, I think is a touchstone, unfortunately. But there has to be some reasonable limit on the amount of time so that we can get to the work that we're here to do, because these are our work meetings. But if it is a particularly contentious issue, a particularly important issue to the community, we know a lot of people want to speak, it's our obligation to listen and to factor that in to our decision making. So I like it. I think it's time. And I would support a move to move it up.
Thank you. Excuse me. I think it's great that, I think one of the things that we've all spoken about, and we've actually, it's been something that we haven't been able to figure out, and this may be the first step, is about the student comment, because I think it's something that, it doesn't happen all the time, but when it does happen, sometimes even first comment after the presentations can be, an hour into our meeting, and it makes it difficult for them. So I think on the pro side, that is definitely great. If they knew what time they were going to make their comments, or, everyone would make their comments. My only question, and I'm just throwing it out because I think I'm pretty, affirmative in like what you're saying, but I like sometimes people are waiting to listen to our presentations and then have questions about what we're talking about in the meeting, or then it sort of has formed their opinion more as the meeting has gone on. So that would be the only thing I'm throwing out, because I'm not sure about it. Like, I feel like this is a good discussion. And we're not voting on it tonight, right? It's the beginning of a discussion. So that's why I figured I want to hear other people's ideas of what, what they're doing. A lot of people come to the microphone already with formed ideas and have like something that they want to say and express themselves, which is totally fine. So that might be enough people that it sort of supersedes the people that are needing to listen to something and say comments. So that's sort of what I'm bringing out tonight. Thanks.
Yeah, Mrs. Fleischer, I see that too. There are some folks that want to add in, or even on the flip side, just want to express their, thank you for giving certain information. It's rare, but it happens. So I think as long as the young people are able to get in here, and besides our saying students go first, I think that it's a good thing that we can try. Now, my questions are, number one, why aren't we asking these two students that are sitting here at the table? Number two, if it doesn't work, can't we change it? Like, if nothing is set in stone forever.
So Mrs. Elmore Stratton, we definitely will be soliciting their input. So they are not being left out. I think part of this was generated from that discussion, right? Like, we've had this discussion like ad nauseum. I think it's time we make some take some action. I do want to say, my intention was just to raise the topic, have our first discussion about it as a group. We have two board members who are not here tonight. It's important that we get their voice as well. I think listening to some of the input, I think perhaps we should consider, and I'm just throwing this out here as an idea as we're talking about it, a time specific for first public comment, in terms of like maybe a time limit, like we go for a certain amount of time, and then perhaps we still have that second public comment at the end for whether people want to give, a comment on the meeting and that what's gone on in the meeting, or if we've run out of time, perhaps it will give an opportunity at the end to kind of, because it's hard, we have all the business of the meeting, and honestly, our administrators, once in a while, one of them has to leave, before midnight or 10 p.m., whatever it is. And I think if we have a time limit and the first public comment, but it's an open topic and it has a very clear start time, then we can always have the second as kind of a for any overflow or whatever. And especially I like the fact that obviously we can, in extenuating circumstances, we can be flexible and change the extent. So we'd have to kind of assess that, but so that's just a thought. That's kind of I guess I feel like a compromise from the different ideas. So Mrs. Tong, and then I would love if we have other board members and or students who want to speak. Mrs. Tong.
I want to hear from the student first before I make my public comment.
If the students want to speak, you don't have to speak. To be clear, do not feel like you're on the spot.
Thank you, Ms. Stern. And you actually suggested the idea that I was going to propose just because I thought it was a good compromise between some of the comments that the different board members made. I think my only question would be, would we still have that first public comment for the specific agenda items, or would that be, okay, so that'd be replaced? So my question would be, if there was a limit on the time at the first public comment, wouldn't that stop some people who are interested in commenting on like the specific action items from commenting? And that could have like some valuable information, since those are the things that are being voted on at the meeting.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's a proposal that me and Colin and Dr. Burns were all in favor of. I've heard from them recently, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted this position in the first place. I think a lot of students, like from my experience in high school, don't know that they have the opportunity to speak to board members about problems they have. Like at lunch, we're sitting in circles complaining about things that we wish we could change. And I'm like, well, we probably could if we showed up. And like there are conflicts with sports and other after school activities, and to expect them to come here at 9-10 o'clock to give public comments, it's unreasonable. So I think something like this could be positive in that degree.
So just to I do want to clarify that we definitely made the change. I don't even know how long ago, that students always could comment on any topic in the first public comment, exactly for that reason. But right, this would make it earlier. Yeah, and if this is part of why you wanted to be a board rep, you might finish your job. You might even completed your job before the school year even starts at this rate. But we're happy you're here, and I hope you'll stay. So, but yeah, and I just to clarify, Matt, it's so yeah, what I'm proposing, and we're as part of discussion, is the idea it has to be an action item is eliminated, but it could be. I mean, it could be any. It's essentially the openness of public comment too being moved up all the way up to the top right after roll call, which is, within the first few minutes, as long as we're starting on time, which we will do next time.
Right. I just think my only concern would be if there is like the time limit, and like a lot of people speak in that first area, and then there are people who like want to speak about the more specific action items, that they might be like unable to speak about those things because of the time limit, and then they could either speak about it at the end, which is after the vote has already taken place, or they would just have no ability to speak about that specific action item.
This is Emma Stratton.
That's a great point. I think we should talk about it a little bit more, but also I would encourage us to also think of alternative ways for the community to give feedback. It's one of the reasons why I said we need to do some sort of like 180 so that we can get a feel for things. But I don't know, we'd have to talk to our solicitor about what's okay and what's not okay. But is there another way that we should be looking at to provide for folks to say what they have to say to us? And I'm saying outside of just email. I know they are open to email at any time, but is it appropriate now for us to, step up our technology game and have another space where comments can be left or comments can be suggested or whatever? Just would love us to look at other things. We don't have to continue to do things the same way just because we did them that way. So if we could talk with our solicitor and see what's permitted and what's not, let's also have some other options for folks.
So, if I could, I'll just respond to that last comment. That's one of the key components of what I'm hoping will come out of strategic planning as far as communication, opening up, identifying new opportunities, new ways for us to engage with the community, engage in real time, not just a suggestion or complaint box, whether it be email or otherwise, not just 3 minutes at the podium, whether it's early or late, but let's talk about it. So there'll be a number of ways I think we can do that. And that's important to me. And I think other members of the committee agree with that. So we're going to take that on. I don't know that it has to be shoehorned into how do we make it work with public comment, because that limits options. I'd like to look at everything. I don't want to limit anything at all. So we agree completely.
Mrs. Tong, did you want to chime in?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Stern. I want to ask if there's a possibility there's a 3 public comments. Would that be feasible? Is it allowed by the law or?
So we're required by law to have 1. We currently have 2. We could have 3, but I guess I'd want to understand what your thought was for having 3 if we're proposing to potentially move first right at the beginning and have it to be on any item, any topic related to our schools. So what would be your thought to have 3? Where would we put them and what would be the reason behind them?
Sure. My thought was having the first public comment for the students so they have a set time so they can do their work. The second the second public or which is original first public comment is to, like Matt says, we know what the public comment is about. Pertaining to our agenda item. And the third one is new public comment. So that way we are very clear mind that when they speak, we know what they're trying to give us the point, I guess the important point of it. Make it easier and it's easier for everybody to understand how that runs. I don't know if that will be if that works, that'll be great. But if not, we'll hopefully find a good solution. All right, thank you.
So I'm kind of keeping track of all the different ideas and thoughts. I think it's a good beginning conversation. I think if we're talking about whether we're talking about kind of one at the beginning that's open, maybe encouraging, whether we want to be specific and say kind of almost an order like students, action items, everybody else, in that public comment, the first one, or if we want to have, like a time limit and go to the time limit and say everybody else go to the, kind of the end. Assuming there's not an overwhelming number of students or an overwhelming number, major topic, like as Ms. Gilfriend talked about. So let's think about all these options. Let's keep them out open. We'll fill our other 2 board members in when they return and we'll have this conversation and then we'll make some decisions. Does that feel good? And I, appreciate the input on, other ways to communicate and hear, because there, I think it's rather dissatisfying to sit here and speak and, public comment is a comment time. It's not a conversation, but I think that's difficult and we need to have avenues for conversation for sure. So appreciate that work. And any other thoughts as they percolate? Keep bringing them forward. So, and from students too for next time. Yeah.
I thought the initiative to add other resources for people to give their opinions or suggestions for the board is important because public comment it's like you're at a podium and like it's a commitment. You have to have something prepared like formally to give to people you've never met before. If you asked me to do that 2 years ago, I'd probably cry. So I think giving other resources where you could drop a comment somewhere, nothing too, bearing or like scary for like younger people or students or even adults who like don't really have the time commitment to even make it here at all, even if there's a designated time. I think that's important.
I think that could be an addition. Some good ideas. That's great. Love it.
I think that's something that you should bring to Mr. Mayor as the lead of the what's it called? Strategic planning. But we should make it happen sooner rather than later. And especially because all the old folks at this table don't know what's the newest ways. Is it, I'm still using MySpace. I'm not. But we need to know what is that best way. So I think it'll all come out in the communication audit, but if we can make some faster moves just to try things out, that's the whole point of it. It's just a reminder that this is where we work. This is the only time that all of us are allowed to be together and all of us are allowed to talk to each other essentially. So at one time. So we do have to still get our work done, but we also want and know that the opportunity is there for people to let us know something that's going on. So just put that out there.
Okay, so to be continued. Thank you. All right, that's all the old business I got. Anybody else? No, Mrs. Elmore Stratton, old business.
And I'm keeping it short, so no questions and no comments. I just wanted to bring up again, because we are close to school starting, that we have to let our student board reps know exactly what their role is. It is crucial and critical for them to be successful in this year, to know exactly what they're supposed to bring before us in terms of their presentations or their all of that stuff, with their communication with us. I love to hear all of those things. I also want to make sure that as a board, we're allowing for them to have proper input at the proper time. So is it something where we can, sit down and talk with them? Do they need to learn parliamentary procedure? Whatever we have to do, let's not keep kicking the can down the road and then these kids are graduated already. So let's do that and start the school year right.
So Mrs. Elmore Stratton and Dr. Morton just had to get up for a minute, but I know that that's something that the principals at each high school are charged with, to review all of that. And that's part of the process, is my understanding. If we are looking to change that, I think we can certainly, have more of a discussion. I know we said maybe not tonight, but I think we can have some offline discussions about that. And then full board discussions as well.
Yeah,
But they are prepared by the I mean, that is a process. That
of course, I
happens.
know our principals are amazing. I know they told you don't come up here and just say no nonsense, I'm sure. And they read all of your reports before you even get them to hear. I get that part. I just want us to be clear, because there's some folks that say that they should be able to vote, which and our solicitor can tell me if I'm wrong, but the students aren't permitted to vote in our things. That's not their role. And so I think for the expectations that we have for that role and for the rules and regulations of that role, that needs to come from us, not from the principals. They're essentially preparing the students with the right information and ensuring that they're sharing appropriate information, but we have to arm them with what their job description is. Am I wrong?
So you are correct. Student representatives are not an elected member to this board, and therefore they do not vote on board business. However, they are certainly members of the public who are allowed to speak at the same time. I might make a suggestion. There are a lot of boards out there that similar to you do their meetings online, and you could listen to kind of what their reports are. If you guys wanted to think about making a change to the information that your board reps are bringing forth.
I'm just here for, let's have full student engagement. Let's just not have tokenism at the table because the state said so. So, we can be leaders in that, in terms of giving our youth board members more of a space and a place to have some youth voice and youth choice. So.
And if you guys are really that interested in Robert's Rules of Parliamentary Procedure, I am more than happy to bore you to tears.
They're not that bad. Duly noted, Mrs. Elmore Stratton.
Sorry, Mrs. Elmer Stratton. I do have one comment, and I'm going to make it fast. But knowing that it was recently a policy that we actually had to push through from the state about making sure, and we were ahead of the curve, by the way. A lot of students, schools never had student reps, so we've done that for years and years. But it might be because they have that we could just get in touch with MJPTA to see if there's any type of rollout that they're creating for student reps. So that might be something we can look into.
Yeah, I can definitely check with Jesse Adams from school boards about that. I'll do that. Send an email. Okay, any other old business? Okay. So we now move on to our second public comment. The second public comment section is when and which you may comment on any school-related topic. If you would like to speak now, I'm sorry, I'll go back and make sure I read the whole thing. If you'd like to speak now, please identify, state your name and your municipality. We alternate between speakers here in the room and those who are online. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. The timer on the screen will indicate the amount of time you have remaining. Public comment is an opportunity for members of the community to comment on matters relevant to the operations of Cherry Hill Public School District or within the authority of the Cherry Hill Board of Education. The board welcomes diverse opinions on relevant matters. Under established federal law governing reasonable restrictions on speech in public forums, statements which demean individual community members or groups, or which are irrelevant to the operations of the school district or are repetitious, will not be permitted. Community members who would like to present information not relevant to the school district are always welcome to communicate directly to the district superintendent, board president, and all board members via email or other alternative means until we have other options. Okay, and we will start in the room. If anyone would like to speak, kindly approach the podium.
Rick Short, Cherry Hill. I did send a letter to you all. It was 6 things to make bus safety safer this coming fall. And I'm very upset with Dr. Morton's reply because it shows no action at all. How do we forget that on February 14th, a boy was hit no more than 100 yards from here? How do we forget the blood path of it? How do we forget a teacher on 911 saying, pray for healing, and you're not doing any action? How do we know, or how do, I don't know which one of you studied the Glasgow coma scale, how close this student came to dying? And you're doing no action. You're not doing anything. Nothing, nada. This is even after 2 years ago when a Cherry Hill West representative student spoke and told you that 75% of the people don't feel safe in Cherry Hill East parking lot, and you didn't do a darn thing. And this is after our Madam President said on tape that she doesn't feel it's, I'm paraphrasing, she doesn't feel it's safe. We need to do something. The former superintendent did nothing. He talked about meeting together, nothing was taken. So we have an architect that has unsafe designs for the Kilmer. There is no student drop off at Kilmer. Let me remind you again, there's no student drop off at Johnson. There's no bollards planned for Johnson, because if you had a student drop off area, you want bollards. There's no plan for Payne, probably one of the more dangerous ones, where a crossing guard says that, you know, he almost gets hit and there's no actions taken there, probably the most dangerous one. And you have Rosa, where 25 teachers don't have a parking spot after the new design. And the district just keeps ignoring it like it's not there, it doesn't happen, that these problems aren't there. Amazing. You have East, where you can't fit all the buses, you have a bad design, you're going to go ahead and forge ahead. You know, and there's other issues too that you could be planning ahead, but you're not. There's different ways to slow down an active shooter. You could put this stuff 3 years in advance or 2 years in advance, but you're not doing it. You have the money for it. Moving on to sustainability. Oh my gosh, what a waste of time. I'll tell you, it's quite amazing how much time, and Miss Stratton and Dr. Root says how much time you waste on sustainability. No, I'm just saying how long the meeting is. So I'm going to give you a little advice tonight. You could save a lot of time if you study the New York City, the New York City's school plan. You save a lot of time.
Thank you, Mr. Short. All right, we go to the line and the phone number that ends in before we go to that person, there's another hand that's up online and it is not a person's name. If you could just kindly rename and put your actual personal name so that it shows up on our end as a person's name. Right now, it's the name of, I think, an organization. Okay. Online, there's a hand up with the number 788.
Okay, I'm Jeff Potowitz and I live in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. At a previous, 2 months ago, a previous school board meeting, I heard many student voices speaking in unison during public comment 1, which is where students can voice. I also heard a student voice speaking bravely alone. He was speaking about something different during the public comment 1. But why? During public comment 1, student voice is allowed on any topic. Basically, according to Wickelman v. Parma, parent voice equals student voice when it is in relation to parents of students with disabilities. This was in effect decided by the U.S. Supreme Court in Cherry Hill. This should be obvious to our school board, especially when our school board mentions they are following established federal law. So, school board, please help parents of students with disabilities to be a voice for their students at school board meetings during public comment 1. They're the voice of their children. That realization by the U.S. Supreme Court, because of the legal argument that was used on Wickelman v. Parma, was the reason for that ruling. Please note, a little change in wording or the way something is presented may help to challenge or unsettle relations with school districts like Wickelman and v. Parma. School district, that ruling tried to do, and I followed it, so it did. I know what the ruling was about. Or change in ruling or controlling the way items are presented could help reinforce or bolster that particular power relationship in favor of school districts. It could go either way, just like our school district's leaderships do. You do that, and also you control the analysis and, more importantly, the collection of the data that is presented to us. The way studies are done, the way data is collected is extremely important. And do I feel that it's done in favor of what district administrators and leaders want to do? Yes, I do. That's it. And I wish some people would look into that, the way data is collected, and the questionnaires that are given in the wording of the questionnaires. Thank you very much.
Okay, we go back to the room. Anyone would like to speak, kindly approach the podium.
And Einhorn, Cherry Hill. So speaking of communication, I really have been having a very difficult time finding the correct parameters for elementary class size on the district website. Your policy only states at the superintendent's discretion. So at some point or somehow, I'd like to find out what size are the classrooms in elementary currently and for the ensuing school year. You've already heard from 2 of the schools that were quite concerned with their class sizes and had resolution. And at the same time, as we're looking at strategic planning, we really need to open the discussion of elementary school redistricting because we have schools that are bursting at the seams. When it comes to the extension of pre-K, I'd like to know at the Malberg building currently, are all the staff being informed and updated on the logistics and the plans as we move forward with this program? Because quite frankly, I am hearing that we're falling short on letting the staff know exactly what they will be responsible for And that's a concern for me because it's a brand new program. If that communication has been dialed down a bit, that's a problem 3 weeks before school starts. I am very confused about Ms. Stern. I can't see how much time I have because of your head. Sorry. Thank you. I do not understand what the lead principal means, except the only thing I can figure sitting out here is that it is a replacement position since we're not going to currently fill the position that Dr. Morton has entered into. Okay, so and how will that work? Is it a new person? Are we going to appoint someone from within district? Because I don't know how our high school principals can handle it. Dr. Burns has a full plate. Dr. Burns has a full plate. I'm not quite sure what that job description means to the district. And when it comes to the board goals, do we get to see a rough draft before we have a discussion so we can ask intelligent questions? And Matthew, thank you. This board doesn't realize that in the old days, our board meetings rang till 1 o'clock in the morning because we didn't stifle the public's ability to speak at length, which really it can be good or bad. But this business of only having 3 minutes when we used to have 5 minutes is really stifling out here because some of us, especially me, have more than one thing to say. And 3 minutes is not enough sometimes to have a coherent statement to the Board of Education. Thank you.
Okay. And we go back to the line, and it is Alana Yaris.
Alana Yaris, Cherry Hill. I just wanted to state that when you're in webinar format and listening to a board meeting, when you raise your hand to speak for public comment, the only way to rename yourself is to sign out of your Zoom account, log out of the meeting and log back in to rename yourself. So I had to log out and miss some of the meetings so that I could rename myself so that you could call on me for public comment. I'd also like the board to consider live streaming these meetings to our YouTube page and or Facebook so that more of the community can see them. Maybe people want to watch the meeting and they don't have anything to say for public comment, and then they could see it on YouTube or Zoom. Pre-pandemic, the meetings were live streamed to YouTube and you can watch them in real time on YouTube, and I'd like to see that again with the Zoom meeting. I know that Zoom can be live streamed to social media platforms. Finally, as the parent of a preschool student, it's my understanding that Malberg has mixed age classes, and all I see on social media is the 3-year-old wait list and the 4-year-old wait list. And I'm confused if there's more than one wait list, as I thought that they were mixed age classes. So why do we have 2 separate wait lists going for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds? I would ask in an email or communication to the school, but I've been at that school for 5 years, and this past school year was the first year where anytime I emailed or asked a question, the response I got was, oh, that will be in the Friday memo, or no response at all. I'm disappointed in the communication from the school. And I would like the school to do a better job of communicating with parents and staff and others who are stakeholders in the preschool level. Finally, the preschool day is a full day, and you're adding 30 minutes to the school day. So the full day is going from 5.5 hours to 6 hours due to state mandates and regulations that require a 6-hour school day requires 45 minutes of nap/rest time. So those students who had a 5.5-hour school day had no rest time, and now they are going to be required to have 45 minutes of rest time. And I thought the point of extending the school day to be 6 hours and a full day was so that they could get the most learning possible. And instead of gaining 30 minutes of learning, they're actually losing 15 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. We go back to the room. Okay.
Yoni Yaris, Cherry Hill. It's been a while since Alana and I followed each other at a meeting. It's always fun when that happens. I want to suggest to the board, Dr. Malash previous to this, I don't know what Dr. Morton's plan is, no pressure to you on this. With town halls, I think I'd encourage the board to consider sitting in on them or creating your own avenue for town halls. And during the school day, I know it's hard, it's one more thing to put on your plate. Or figuring out a time to come in and have those sessions when the students are in a hopefully comfortable environment. I don't want to make that assumption. Obviously, for some schools, there are students in schools, it is a place of trauma. And hopefully we're working towards that with our trauma-informed practices. But to be able to bring the conversations to them and not ask them to come to here, just as another pathway for success. I do like the idea of moving public comment prior to all the presentations. I think it'll also be informative to the board members to perhaps have questions that the community raised to be able to then bring up following the question and answer period for those presentations, and we'll make a more informed decision and discussion process. I would ask that hopefully that second public comment remains at the end of the meeting, that we don't go down to one, because there are things that come up at those presentations where those of us sitting on this side of the room would like to share our input with you guys in your leadership positions and with the district administration. But I do really like Ms. Stern's discussion proposal to move that ahead. I believe it's come up in some capacity before, but I do really like it. I also want to echo Ms. Einhorn's comments that 3 minutes is far too little sometimes, and it is very stressful staring at the clock ahead. Sorry for the record. To be able to do that and have a good stream of consciousness. There are some people who do need to come off and read with a paper, and just making it into a more accessible place. I like the idea of limitations or flexibility granted that the not Paul Green solicitor said. Sorry, I don't know your name and I apologize. But I also thought that was really important. I also want to also reiterate what Ms. Elmer Stratton brought up about really clarifying what the roles are of the student reps. They should be more engaged in conversations. They have the presentation responsibility, but they also deserve a right to be involved with any discussion that goes around this board, not related to confidential matters and HR. Thank you.
Okay. And I'm looking, I do not see any more hands online. And I do not see anybody else at the podium. I think everyone who's in the room and the audience has spoken. So I'm going to now turn it over to superintendent comments.
Thank you, Ms. Stern. So we have less than 30 days before students return back to school on September 5th. So the summer is moving along very fast and very rapidly. I encourage students, if you have not done so already, and I know none of our students procrastinate, but if you have not done so already, remember summer reading. You have summer reading assignments. Our library, Cherry Hill Public Library, has worked with us and has books available. Your schools also have books available. You should contact your school's administration if you are having difficulty identifying your book. I would like to reiterate as well, I'd be remiss if I didn't do so, the great collaboration and the great effort that's taken place between the district's subcommittee for goals, led by Ms. Fleischer, and the district's administration. It's truly been outstanding. It really has been great. I feel like we're a well-oiled machine now. You know, we're going back and forth with suggested revisions and recommendations, but it's been a wonderful process. The thing that I'm really proud about and happy that has been prioritized is the idea of staff wellness. You know, the board was very clear that they wanted to ensure that we have a focus in moving forward on staff wellness. And it's critically important. There's been lots of information reports about the heavy amount of stress and anxiety that's been placed upon our teachers. I'm the son of a teacher, so I'm going to always advocate for teachers. And there's never a time when you turn that off. During the weekends, you're the teacher. When you're going to the supermarket, you're the teacher. You know, it's nonstop and it's ever present. And that was the reality in my home for growing up. So we want to make sure we prioritize our teachers and our staff. And thank you. Thank you for doing that. They also made sure they said we want to prioritize the administration as well. We want to make it clear that we're focusing on the wellness of our administrators as well. So critically important. Thank the entire community for their patience while the tremendous amount of construction takes place across the town and across the district. There are impacts potentially on timelines for the return of teachers to school that could impact some of the events that we typically hold. More information will be forthcoming about that, but thank you for your patience. Superintendent outreach will definitely continue with students. We absolutely will continue with town hall meetings with students. We also will be even expanding that to identify advisory committees. And I will, invite board members as well to come and take part with me in working with the children to help solve real problems that we have. For me, that's what it's all about. It's about solving problems and solving issues. So we'll do that collectively as we move forward. The lead principal positions are not new positions. They're positions that existed in the past. They're just being resurrected and they're returning. As I transition into the role of acting superintendent, we will not fill the role of assistant superintendent with an interim. We figure out the amount of time that it'll take to get an interim up to speed, understanding what our needs are, understanding who we are, will take so long that it's better that we work with members within the CHESA Association or current practicing administrators who have more familiarity with our needs. We'll have them pick up some of the items that might be an overload for myself. So it's a stipend position, but again, will be used to extend and support our work and moving forward. Thank you to the board for your approval of the sidebar agreement for our district music coordinator. We talk about the impacts of COVID all the time, and the long history and legacy in Cherry Hill around performing arts, in particular, a music program, really is in jeopardy. COVID had a massive effect on that. And as we look at enrollment numbers across the district at the high schools, enrollment numbers have been down. So we're looking for an individual to articulate and coordinate a cohesive program across the district. That position is the start of that. Also, thank you to the West Boosters for their great donation, and to the East Musicians on Call. Great donation this year of $5,700. Last year they gave $4,600 as well to extend music programming across the elementary schools. So absolutely awesome. And to reiterate again, wonderful news, Cherry Hill Atlantic Youth Baseball Club runner-ups in the International World Series. We will recognize them on August 22nd at our BOE, at our meeting on the 22nd. Thank you, Ms. Wilson, for arranging that for us. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Morton. Appreciate all of your comments. And I think that, we have some stuff on our website, but as we work to improve our website, I think it'll be easier. I think some of the comments that were made about presentations and policies and such, it'll be nice as we work on that and Mrs. Wilson figures out with your audit, how do we improve our communication? Strategic planning works on that to make sure that we have easily accessible information for the community. So, and for the board too. And with that, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? All in favor? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.